Dr. Ava Brown. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Multi-award winning international speaker, author, and transformation mindset business coach, Dr. Ava Eagle Brown is in a class by herself of her own. Ava coaches, trains, and speaks globally to help others shift their mindsets to change their lives and businesses, ultimately affecting their bottom line. Some of her clients include London Borough of Menton, London Borough of Croydon, Westminster, Kingsway College, Knowsy Kids Limited, Maluski, Partner Z, just to name a few. She's the author of her memoir, The Mango Girl, in Waterstones, Barnes & Nobles, W.H. Smith, and Amazon, soon to be a feature film. Ava has moved from incest, rape, failed marriages, and being homeless to a household name globally. She has shared stages with the likes of Levi Roots, Dragon's Den, Eric Thomas, Nick Vujicic, Andy Harrington, Hollywood, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Darren Marissa Peer, Joseph McClendon III, among others of influential and status in this space. She's been featured in the Financial Times, the Sunday Mirror, the Booksellers, Book Brunch, BBC, London Live, Huffington Post, The Voice newspaper, Television Jamaica, Sky TV, and The Guardian, just to name a few of the press that have sought words from this great country girl turned corporate queen. Brown was the ambassador for Evolve, which is a homelessness and community sport charity that makes a real difference to 2,000 people each and every year and in and around London. Moreover, she is planning to start a charity called Jamaica Safe Home for Girls, which will seek to establish a residence for young girls, victims of abuse and poverty, who are in need of shelter and help. This cause is close to her heart, as she herself had nowhere to go when she wanted to escape from a very damaging home situation when she was just a young girl growing up in Jamaica. Ava, Dr. Ava Brown, are you ready to rock this? She ready. We are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for showing up today to give massive value to our audience. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So we are going to dive right in to our interview, and that starts with the question and the theme of the day, which today is evolution. So, Dr. Ava Brown, how has evolution played a part in your life, and how are you bringing evolution? How are you evolving your life, your community, your industry, your corner of the world, and how are you innovating? Tell us that.
Do you know what? That's such a great question, because it's Mental Health Awareness Month here in the UK, and one of the biggest things that I've found lately in part of my practice, because I do life and book and business. And so let's take the life part, because I think if you're not wholesome as a person, then you cannot be effective in your business. And so one of the things that I have been doing lately is just really to be just more vulnerable and much more open and transparent with my audience, to really talk about mental health, because I realize that a lot of us are crushing under the strains and the stresses of life and business. And so I become much more open and transparent, and that's an evolution for me personally, because if I can if I can help you deal with your issues in your tissues and make you more wholesome, then that is going to make you a better business person. And so one of the ways I've sought to do that lately is that we've started this movement called Sister Hold My Hand. And Chris, it's been 2 weeks and we have a secret Facebook group, and I kid you not, the purging, the unmasking, the cleansing that's going on in there. I called my coach today and I said to her, what have I opened? What have I done? Because Facebook is such a mass for so many of us, and just for people to feel safe to come and open up and feel like there's no victimization, no judgment is phenomenal. And for me, that is revolutionary and a big evolution.
Wow, that's amazing. And you created this space. We all have the power to create the space, the safe environment, the place where people can come and, take off that mask, take off the extra weight that they've been covering. So really acknowledge you, Ava, for creating that for these women. Is it mainly for women that they're able to come do this?
It's called Sister Hold My Hands, because although I have male clients, and I just actually was on the phone to one in Detroit. Although I have male clients, predominantly most of my clients are female. And as you read my story, you can understand why girls and women are close to my calling. But this one is for sisters only at the moment. I'm sure when I get a husband, wherever you are, please hurry up. Then we may look at Brothers Hold My Hand, but for now it's just for ladies. Yes, but we have a live audience that's coming up, and men are welcome to join us for the live audiences. But I wanted to have the safe space. I wanted it to be safe because confidentiality in what we do is so big. So I want it to be a safe space. So it's just for women at the moment.
This is beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'm curious, let's project this out a little bit and keep it evolving. What do you see this space, because you're creating this, like what do you see it becoming and evolving into?
Well, that's a fantastic question, because when I sat with you earlier on that session, I actually helped to really flesh out Sister Hold My Hand a little bit more. It was only born a month ago. It was just an idea because I gave a platform to some of my clients and my former clients. And I really created that platform for them to just be themselves. And then people emailed me and said, Ava, what do you plan to do? I genuinely had no plans. I really didn't. And it's just taken its own legs and just gone into its own vortex. So what the plan is right now is that it's going to become a talk show, a very open and honest conversation where women touch the issues that we have not wanted to touch, or we are too afraid to touch with because of the judgment. So we're going to touch the intimate stuff, the raw stuff, the really peeling the layers off like an onion and getting to the core. So it's going to become this talk show that's going to have all kinds of women from all kinds of walks of life, all kinds of ordinary women, because I don't want it to just be the people who are up there. I want to elevate the ordinary woman and bring her up to the space where she and I are. If we're down there, we're the same. If we're up here, we're the same. So I want to create a movement. So we're looking to roll this out into different cities across the world and really say, it's almost like, ladies, you know what? Let's stop the competition. Let's complement each other because we have so many common issues, and let us work together. That's a bigger plan. We see conferences, retreats, pajama parties. It's going to be exciting.
I love it. What I love about that is, one, it's being vulnerable and just like this raw realness and bringing the most deepest layers up to the surface and being able to share that in a sisterhood. But I also hear that you're committed, that there's equality, but also even fun, like these pajama parties. Like one thing I've really driven for is to be more of my childlike self, right? Have more fun, bring more of that energy back, and surround that with the people around me. Have fun and just play and dance and do all kinds of stuff like that. So I love that you're doing that.
I think women I think we get bogged down with being a mother, being a wife. I mean, in the conversation today, I actually threw it out to the audience that my son's birthday happens to fall on the same day that I was invited to speak in California. And I said, girls, let's just be real about it. Who says it's not okay to want to pursue your dreams who have been a mom? And how do you juggle it? And those are some of the conversations we need to be having. And my kids, for example, follow me everywhere. In that speaking in Poland, my son was on stage because I had no childminder. How do you address these issues as women? So I just really am looking forward to helping women and helping myself at the same time. Because most times when we touch these things, they're our own issues that we're trying to bring to the masses. Totally. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's like sharing that vulnerable stuff for us. Yes, it's cathartic. It releases for us. It takes courage. It lets go of the charge, the toxicity, that kind of thing. But like it also gives others permission to share themselves, to really express themselves and to be heard and to be felt. So like really creating that space is so amazing. I love that you're doing that, Ava. And we're gonna keep going in further to what specifically that you're working on today. We heard about this sisterhood group that you created. Is there anything else that you want to inform us about what you're doing or working on today?
Well, something you talked about today, which is, this is in my own way, the ebb and flow of things and keeping things clustered. And you didn't say it like that, but my daughter, my 19-year-old daughter said to me today, "Mommy, keep things in the same theme." So I'm going on tour. Mm-hmm. I'm going on tour it's called the Perseverance and Global Empowerment Tour. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing my book, The Mango Girl, on tour. And it's really going on tour to stop in different cities. So envisage me in Haiti with young girls talking about, the fact that although hardships are in Haiti, although this is what you were born into, you can change how you die. Yes. And I really believe in the theme, Chris, that, where you're from doesn't have to determine how you end up. And so I'm going on tour to really take my story of resilience and tenacity and courage under fire and hope to girls and women who have gone through something, come under something, or is in the middle of something, and say to them, "You know what, baby girl, breathe. It's okay. I've been there. I've been there." And so I'm going to be collecting stories as I go along this journey and create an anthology that is called The Answer Project. So, I'm really excited about that. And that kicks off starting in July. So I'm going from Holland to the US. So I don't know. We might just end up in your city. And as I go on this global tour for Mango Girl Global Tour, they're going to be woven into that some Sister Hold My Hand taping. So it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to that.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're like all over the world sharing this message, inspiring people. And we shared about the sisterhood and the book that you wrote. So you've accomplished a lot of amazing things, and you've been speaking, and things weren't probably most likely always this great. In fact, they weren't. You mentioned that you've been through some serious stuff. So I want to go back a little bit and get our audience present to the kinds of things that you did have to overcome and what you had to do, how you had to evolve and become more to get through those challenging, heartbreaking, terrible situations to get to where we are today. And just give us the picture of what happened and then what you had to do to overcome that.
That's a great question, Chris. And I think, when people talk about me today and they talk about I'm in the FT and I'm been in the garden, I'm on TV and I'm sharing the stage with all these great people, which is so amazing. I never want anybody to forget where I've been, because, when you introduced me a while ago, I'm almost unrecognizable, because that's what people see now. But as you know, based on our journeys, and we've had that discussion, we have so many similarities, they don't remember the past. And I never want you to forget where I've started, because that is where who I am stems from. That's where the fire in my belly comes from. So I was born in Jamaica to a very, very young mother who was only 16 when she gave birth to me.
Wow.
And life was challenging. I have a 19-year-old daughter, and I cannot imagine her having a child because she's not yet at that responsible phase. And my mother was turned up by her own mother. So she was on the road technically. And so she found a partner, and that's the kind of familiar situation in which I was born. Wow. My own father disowned me. And so through that whole hard childhood, we were really poor. We had very little to eat. And mom helped me and sent me into what I call entrepreneurship. Thank God for that. And I sold mangoes on the train rather than being in school. Hence the name of my book, The Mango Girl. Wow. But that kind of drove me into another situation where the then man who was said to be my father molested me. Fast forward a few years later, I found myself homeless in high school. Left high school, I failed high school technically. And then I got married, and that failed because when the first person was meant to teach you how to be treated by a man is your father, then he molested you, then what do you expect?
Or attract.
Or attract. And so my marriage broke down, and out of that I started going to a whole different levels of all kind of tragedy. I ended up being raped at gunpoint with my daughter, who was 3 there. And today she now suffers from all kinds of mental issues because of that journey that we work through daily as a family. And we don't see it as anything other than something that is here to teach us something, or something for us to learn something from. And so that experience pushed me out of Jamaica because I nearly had a mental breakdown. And so when I came to the UK, I literally had to grapple with so many different pieces of my experiences. And I met a lot of different, vicissitudes, I call them. But I had to get to the place where I had to start asking the answers. Ava, what is happening? How can you break this cycle? Because after a while, there's a pattern. And you have to understand that unless you do something differently, you will not get a different result. Right. So I was looking for a relationship in the wrong places, having seen all the signs and ignoring them, end up being divorced twice. And then I had to have the conversation with myself. I had to lock myself in a dark room and say, Ava, you have to take responsibility. Yes, you were born in this situation, but you can change it, baby girl. And I had to go deep inside myself, Chris, and almost do a open heart surgery and really have that hard conversation. And that was when I got introduced to personal development, and my life has never been the same.
So how did you know like what to look for, or when it was time to be responsible, how to like do something about it, or what to do, or what was to blame, or what to be responsible for?
I had a child. I was a mother. I had a child, and I was responsible. I created that life.
Yeah.
And so if I couldn't even be responsible for myself, I owed it to that child because she didn't ask to be born into that situation. Wow. And so she became my why. Like Simon Sinek says, you need to know what your why is. Totally. So I knew my why. And then I had a son. And then I had 2 bigger whys. And so now I had to wake up, girl. You had to wake up. Because these 2 children need a good example. They need to not be living in so much brokenness, because I was broken. And so I had to, it was my children that pushed me. Because I was repeating what I saw.
Question. If you share with another woman who's speaking, someone who resonates with your message, one of these women who might be even listening right now, do they have a resistance to taking that responsibility, or like actually allowing themselves to hear that they might at some level be or feel broken? Like, are they willing to hear that and listen to that?
Not all the time. I say to people that the biggest part in fixing anything is to come to recognition or realization that this thing is broken. And you and I know you can't force personal development on anybody.
Right.
You have to come to that space where you want more. You want to be more. You know that you deserve more. Yeah. And you know that you now need to find out. Once you find that you need more, so which is like trying to find your purpose, right, then you look for the resources. And part of that resource is going to be your ears and mind to listen and feel and taste and understand that the change is needed. But you have to come to that junction where you're at that fork and you're going to go left or right. And so, yes, some of them are resistant and some of them are very resistant. But sometimes you have to, it's like tough love with my children. Sometimes you have to leave them to do it a few times until they say, okay, mommy, I give up. Because, and similar with some women, I have women who come into my diary and they disappear, and a year later they show up. And you say, well, my prices have gone up, and they're like, oh my God. But at the time you were not ready.
Yeah.
And so readiness has to be there to accept where you are. And that's looking in the mirror and really having that hard conversation with yourself.
What if someone says they're ready, but their actions don't follow?
I went to Sunday school as a child, and there was a song that they sang, and I'm not trying to impose religion here, but there's a song that they sang, and it says, I love you, I love you, I love you, my Lord, but how much I love you, my actions will show. I'm saying this to illustrate that if you are ready, and if you're truly ready, then your actions will demonstrate that. If you want to fly to London from where you are, then you cannot sit right there talking to me and not get to the airport and get on that plane, and you want to be here. So when you are ready, you're going to get on that plane. And there's a difference between saying you're ready and actually demonstrating you're ready through your actions.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So would you say that that's a big challenge for women, is that they think that they're ready, or do they think that they're ready and then they don't follow through? Or is it more of they're not sure, they're not confident, or they're not willing to take it on? They're not like courageous enough. Like what would you say is the biggest thing that they need to work on?
I find that most of the women, I'm going to talk about the women I work with. Yeah. Now, I don't want to be contradictory because I'm not married, I'm single, right? But one of the biggest things I find with the women I work with is this, whether it's a what do you call it in sales, whether it's a delay tactic, or I can't remember the word now, but they tend to do the, I really want this. Oh my God, it's so what I want, but I need to talk to my husband. Now, whilst I respect that, I think that you should have the relationship with your husband where you can say to him, honey, I really need to invest in myself. And you should be able to go to your husband and say, I really feel that if I do this, our marriage will be better, our family life will be better, I will be better. So I find that a lot of women are trapped into that situation where their husbands have to decide their personal development. And whilst I'm not saying that you must not involve your partner in the discussion, it should not just be up to him to decide that. And I find that being one of the biggest challenges that I have in my practice. Women saying, I want it, and you can hear that they want it, and you know they want it, but they don't feel empowered enough to do it without their husband telling them that they can. It's not even discussing, it's him giving them his approval. And that's a bit of a challenge for me, because I believe that if your marriage is one of reciprocal relationship where you give and you take and we both are growing, then he should understand that your growth might be in a format and down a route that he might not want to go. He might want to go and play football. That is his growth. But you want to go to a retreat. And so I think that that's one of my biggest challenges. And I think more women need to become more empowered, or need to learn how to sell the ideas to their husbands.
That's huge. That concept of, like, when you're on a sales conversation and someone's like, okay, I'm going to go share this with this person to let them know that I'm going to do it, and just make sure that they're, if there's any questions that they had that they want me to ask you, then they can let me know. But otherwise, I'm going to tell them or share with them that I'm taking this action because I see it right now. And I think a lot of coaches might say, oh, well, you're going to go talk to your family. Okay, you want to check in with them. You want to check to see if it's okay. It's like, no, you're walking away from this conversation determined, committed, like relentless in your personal development. You're going to do whatever it takes. That's the ready. That's the I'm ready to actually change something. And you can like hear it in people's voice.
But I was that woman. I remember when I was married to my ex-husband, and I wanted to be, and everything I am today, I was always that person. I was always that thing. But whilst I was with him, I couldn't shine because I was one of those women who felt trapped. And I was afraid that if I grow, or if I grew more, I would be impacting how he felt. And so I had to go and consult him. And that's why I'm probably so passionate about it. And oftentimes the answer would be no. I remember when I got my book in the libraries, a self-published author got my book in all of the libraries in one borough. And I came and I was so excited. And he says, and so, okay. And that really deflated me.
What?
And so I was really glad to some extent when we broke up, because it's almost like whilst he was in my life, and I'm not disrespecting our memory, it's like winter was always around. The curtains were always dark. And then when he left, I kind of tiptoed to the window, gradually pulled the curtains. I was like, oh my God, it wasn't winter all along.
Wow.
And that's what happened with me, right? So ladies, I'm not advocating that you must do that. I'm just saying that was my experience.
Yeah, and you know, last interview we were talking to Laura Shortridge. She was talking about living in a house full of dream killers, right? And if you are in this position where you can't have an honest, open conversation and bring whatever it is that you're dealing with, thinking about, whatever, to a partner, a spouse, like, it's time to have that serious conversation of, is this person the right fit for me? Are they really supporting me in becoming my greatest possible self? Or, you know, can we have a conversation? If not, can we work through it? Can we have like a, you know, therapist or a coach or something like that help us through it? And if not, then like, that's a toxic relationship. If there's an unwillingness to look at the relationship, to make it better, to, you know, improve both people's lives, to grow, then I think that's the point where we got to start getting honest with ourselves. How much longer do we want to put up with this? Do we want to, you know, 10,
I
20 years?
I agree with you, because if you are at your best and highest potential and best self, you're going to be a better partner, right?
Yeah.
A better mom, a better husband, a better whatever it is in the relationship, because you are happy, you're balanced, you're holistic. And if your partner or the people in your life can't embrace that, then you need to start doing some feel good inventory. I call it. Inventory.
Do an inventory, people.
An inventory. Let me become American. Do an inventory. Yes.
Yeah, you know, I think that's a principle, whether your life is stellar and amazing or like life is not going at all how you want it to go. That inventory, the awareness of what is so, how is life going for you, is so critical to be able to get to where you want to go, right? It starts with the vision and starts with where you want to go, how you want the relationship to be, and then, okay, where are we at now? And then how do we adjust it to get to that place, you know? And especially if we're not defined by who we used to be, where we came from, and we are defined by who we're becoming and who we say we are and the actions that we're taking, that is critical.
Yes, it is. It is. And I think for healthy, balanced relationships, I believe that it's like a relay. You know, one this time it's you who want to carry the baton, but then he might want to carry the baton. And that might mean that he needs to do personal development down the road. But sometimes, and I've seen this work very often, whereby a husband who wasn't convinced and a wife who's radical and say, I'm going to do this, honey, I'm not disrespecting you. You find that 9 times out of 10, he's like, wow, that was good. Yeah. And so it's sometimes winning over the trust of that person. And there might be reasons behind that. Probably the two of them need to come for counseling and coaching. I had a client this week that I said to her, you can't work on just you. We need to work on you and your husband. Because if you're just in one broken tap, and there are 2 parts that it's broken, then you're going to have a flood anyway. Totally. So, you know, we could go on along this line forever, and we don't have enough hours to do that.
Well, you know, what I really heard is when you take inspired action, when a woman takes inspired action, for example, someone's going to be a client with you, and they're worried, they're concerned about their spouse, their partner. Talked earlier about being committed. Leave that conversation committed, determined to share it in a way that they're going to say yes. Like, so before you get off this call, they're going to say yes, right? And if there's any hesitation, okay, well, what might you think they say? What are some objections? Okay, well, you know, if it's like time, it's like, okay, are you going to do your best to enroll them in this investment in yourself? And if they say yes, I definitely am, and then they walk away, then the spouse says no or whatever, and then they take the action anyway. I think that's just a stand to, like you said, the what you believe in, what you are going for, your vision, your worth, your dreams. And then the partner will respect you more if there's someone who you're really meant to be with, because they see that, wow, she really stood up for herself. She really is willing to do whatever it takes and goes after the action. That is amazing. You know, I'm going to shut my mouth next time she says, I have this amazing idea. And then I said, no, it's like, yes, babe, whatever you want.
No, I answer you with one sentence.
Yeah.
Everything is a sell, even relationships.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So in your journey, you started off selling mangoes.
Yes, I did.
So that you started off selling, you started off with the entrepreneurial mindset. What about women who have not sold anything, quote unquote? You know, they haven't seen them.
Women are always selling something.
So they haven't seen themselves as a salesperson.
Yes.
You know, like what does it take to shift that identity and kind of get their power back and the ability to paint a vision in other people's minds and enroll people, make their community better, that kind of thing?
I think it takes a woman having clarity of, you know, really what you're doing, where you are going, what's your purpose, you know, I say to people all the time, if you're going to start something, this is why discovery calls are so important, right? It's to sit down and flesh out what are your assets, I call them, or your resources, because people sometimes how many times people come to you and say, well, I can't afford it. And that's the first thing you hear.
Yeah.
But when you sit down and really chisel and get really laser on, and I break it into two sets, the resources you already have. Because sometimes people don't realize that if I say to you to work with me for $10,000, right, there might be some resources along the way that you don't need to pay for. We can probably work with a package because you have some internal resources. So we look at resources as external and internal. And you look and the discovery call will help you look at that. And once you flesh that out, sometimes you have to signpost people to outsourcing, right? Because you need to look at what are your strongest and best assets. And I say to I have a client who said, oh my God, I wish I could pay. I want to pay someone to do that. I don't want to do it. Okay, that's fine. But I still believe that as a CEO of your company, you need to know how to do everything, right? I really believe in that because one day the machine might break down and you can't get the engineer quickly enough. However, once you understand the basics, there's nothing wrong with you outsourcing the bits once you can afford it that you cannot do as efficiently as you do others. And I believe I call it the Ava 20-80 rule, doing 20% stuff to get 80% results, right? Yeah. So don't be there filing paper, organizing emails, because your best use at making the marketing appearances or the PR appearances. And it's really knowing where your strengths are and really honing on them to grow your business and get more visibility.
Beautiful. So I wanted to go back to the selling that you did when selling those mangoes, because I'm sure there's tons of wisdom in there. You know, what did you learn? What kind of lessons did you pick up along the way?
Oh, God. So you're taking me back to my 12-year-old self. I learned tenacity.
Ooh, yeah.
I explain. I learned how to handle rejection. Because not everybody wanted my mangoes. I also learned that I could not be fussed. I had to focus on my why, and I didn't even know the nice word for it then, but I kept thinking about the fact that there was no food at home, and I can't go home with an empty and a filled basket, no money. Right. So I kept thinking that we were hungry, mom was waiting, and we needed to feed the family. So I needed to sell the mangoes, come what may, no matter what. It was non-negotiable for me. So you learned the skills of negotiating and bargaining, and you learned how to shut out the noise. You learned how to become unapologetic when you need to ask for the sell, right? And those are skills I honed. I learned how to be content with understanding that every no was closer to a yes. I want you to hear that. I learned that every no was closer to a yes. I understood how to be bold and badass and just step out and just claim what I wanted. And I realize now that all of those skills have come back today to really pave the pathway for me. You know, when I share the stage with Eric Thomas and Nick Vujicic and all of those people, it's because I was tenacious.
Yeah. What did it take? Like, what was that like to share the stage with them? Like, how did you get yourself into that position? Tell us that story.
Well, myself and my business partner, Sonia Polian, bless you, girl, I hope you're watching. We just decided we wanted Eric Thomas to speak at an event we were hosting in England. And we just reached out to him. And we were a little bit scared, but then I went back into my mango girl kind of mindset and just did what it took. And sometimes what I realized, Chris, and you know this, because I know your story, you sometimes have to go back To be reminded of where you want to go now, like a swing, right? You go back and say, but hold on. So I tell myself, whenever I doubt myself doing something, I look back at my CV. I call it my CV. I go back to my resume. So, baby girl, I do the self-talk. Girl, you sold mangoes. You escaped gunshots. Girl, you went through this mental health thing and you're thriving.
Wow.
So why do you think you can't do this now? Can you see that?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to go way back to come forward. And more of us don't do that often enough. We forget where we've come from. We forget the gumption we have in our stomach. We forget the unction of who we are. We forget how strong we are. One of the things I never do, I did it once and it taught me a bad lesson. It was bad. I forgot that I was the mango girl. All of the things I just described, they were the tenacious, the courage under fire. I became Dr. Ava Brown. And the moment I forgot that I was a mango girl, the moment I forgot that, I messed up and I lost money.
What was the Dr. Ava Brown that didn't serve you?
Because I now felt like I could have just parked the mango girl there. I could just park her. She was a little bit rough, and she was, and I was polished, and I, I'm very transparent. I parked the grit that made me who I am.
Wow.
And crossed over the rail tracks to this girl who was not the picket fence. And the moment I did that, I forgot the grit. Yeah? Wow. And the grit has to work in duality with a picket fence, because that stuff, that glue that makes me who I am is the mango girl. So we have to operate in duality.
Damn. Everyone who's watching right now, Ava is dropping some fire. If you love this, throw up some emojis, some thumbs up, and if you have any questions for Ava, let us know, because she's here for a little bit longer, and we are loving this. Ava, you're stellar, and how you say things and your articulation is amazing. So I'm curious, from the Mango Girl, who you were out selling, did you get back into college or university, or is this all self-taught? Or because you have a great language and communication ability, so how did that happen?
Well, you're gonna see where grit is important. So when I left high school with no English, no math. Wow. And yes, no, I still don't have math today, by the way. And I'm not advocating that you must go through life without math at all. I'm a trained teacher. I've taught in this country and in the Caribbean. And I really am big on education, because education was my passport out of poverty. But I never always had education. I failed English. I failed math. My mother still today doesn't read and write, right? She still today doesn't read and write. But what happened was, I recognized very early on that I needed something, a vehicle, to take me to a different place. I didn't know what the different place was. I just knew, Chris, but I didn't want to stay in that community, having sex, having babies, going to the marijuana fields. That wasn't going to be my life. I wanted different. I just didn't know what different was. And so I literally went to school. And my teachers, Mrs. Taylor, Mrs. Johnson, love you to bits. I was a chatterbox. I've always been a chatterbox. And they used to be frustrated with me chatting. And I remember them saying, my goodness, I was about to go in my Jamaican vernacular. And they said, why do you talk so much? And those two women saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And they nurtured it. You see, a teacher can make you or break you. And those two women, they nurtured me. And from that, they started making me feel as though there was something special. You see, that's what coaches do. They were coaching me.
Yep.
Right? We just didn't call it coaching. and they made me see that, oh my God, there's something special. So I would go home with like a peacock thinking, oh my God, there's something special. And then when I left high school, I had no English, no math. But I wanted to become a lawyer, a barrister. That was my dream, my big dream. Always wanted to talk. And you know what? When I think about it now, my wanting to talk was because I grew up in an era where I was seen and not heard. So there was this stifling thing.
Yeah.
This is why my kids are very self-expressed. Because I want them to not feel like they can't be free. So I went back and I said, I want to be a barrister. I was just trying to be ambitious, I think. I don't know. I just said it. And then when I left high school, I went to look for my father to ask him to help me to go to college, because in Jamaica, education is not free. And my father told me that I was old enough to have a boyfriend. And that was the last chance he had to tell me that. And I went, listen to me, I went to the Minister of Education. This is like the government office. I was 16 years old. I had to go back into mango girl mindset. I was no longer selling mangoes, but I needed to go back to that grit. And I went to the government office and I demanded, I was bold. I demanded to see the head of education.
Yeah. Little
old country girl in the city is like going to the White House and saying, I want to see Donald Trump.
Right.
And I remember I was so skinny, malnourished, and I sat outside his office for hours. And in a child's mind, it felt like years. But I was resilient that I was not going to leave until somebody saw me. And it's almost like you have to knock doors down and kick them down if they don't open.
Yep.
And when his PA saw that I was not going to give up, Ambassador Burchell Whiteman, wherever you are, you know I love you. We are still in contact. She saw that I was not going to give up and she pitied me. It was pity. You see, sometimes pity is going to create the pathway for you to get to where you need to get to.
Wow.
And she pitied me. And she allowed me to see him. And I remember walking into his office like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because I'd never seen anything like that. And I was like, wow. And I was touching everything. Right? And that changed my life. That was the first chance that somebody gave me really to change my life, because I went into this man's office and I said, I want to become a lawyer. My father's not helping me. Can you help me? You're the head of education. And I was in there commanding. And he said to me, I cannot help you to become a lawyer. And guys that are watching, this is very important, but I can help you to become a teacher. And I said, I don't want to become a teacher. I want to become a lawyer. And Chris, you have to learn when to seize an opportunity. I snatched that teacher because there are several pathways that can lead you to Oregon. It doesn't have to be a direct flight. It could be a connecting flight through somewhere else. And I took that opportunity, and that's how my life changed. Wow. Just like that.
So for everyone listening, what can they do to be present to and increase their ability to seize opportunities? What does that take?
You've got to listen. It's really important to listen. And you've got to be willing to negotiate, compromise, and be clear about the fact that there are several ways to get to something. Right?
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity 5 years ago to become a barrister. I was working for an American company and they wanted to pay for it. By this time, I'd found my purpose. I no longer wanted to do this. I didn't want to be a barrister anymore, because sometimes where you're at is what you feel where you feel you need to be. But sometimes the universe has a bigger plan for you. And sometimes you're at the fork and you're insistent, I must go right. And you're being tossed to the left because the left is really going to take you to purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wrote it in my Sister Hold My Hand group today to somebody who was talking about mental health. And I said to her, stop fighting the waves. But sometimes you need to swim into them and let the waves carry you. And that's the best way I can analyze it for anybody.
Wow. I hear trust. I hear surrender. I hear just like, okay, what can I be grateful for? What do I feel? What is my intuition telling me? All right, let's just take the next step. You know, I think that's so many people are trying to figure out the whole thing or figure out every step along the way, the whole path.
Baby steps, Chris. Baby steps. When a baby is born, that baby crawls. Then that baby stands. And then that baby steps. And then that baby walks. And then that baby runs. And then if you become an eagle, then you start flying. And then you soar. Right? Dr. Ava Brown. So the reality is that you have to understand that bite size sometimes is what you need to master something. And then you expand on it.
Wow. Speaking of eagle, how did you get that name? What is that all about? Tell us.
We're coming to that. So the name eagle came from the fact that a few years ago, I was going to be doing some acting. So yes, I've done some acting in something called Nollywood, which is a really big industry here in Europe and the US. So it's African movie, like Bollywood, Nollywood.
Right.
And I was going to do some acting, and I needed to get some acting lessons. And I was like, oh my God. And interestingly enough, the first role I played was that of a barrister, dressed up in the clothes and everything. It was like my self-actualization had come to pass, right? Without even knowing, they didn't know anything about my desire. That happened. And so I needed to get some acting lessons because I didn't know to act, or so I felt. And the guy he came to my house and he was teaching me. And I said, I can't do it. He says, you are not a chicken. You're an eagle. Eagles don't say they can't. And he said, look at what you do. Look at how you speak and say, look at how you do this. And I heard it, Chris. And you know when you hear that thing that almost came into your mind and just snatching, like it slotted into my head.
Yeah.
And I took it and I looked into the eagle and what the eagle represented. And I was like, oh, that's me. I'm no longer a chicken. That's me. I'm still the mango girl, still with the grit, but I'm an eagle. And that's how I got it. And I'm so excited because it truly has come to embody who I am.
Man. Oh my goodness. Ava, this is juicy. This is juicy. What is your proudest accomplishment?
Wow, that is a very big when you ask me for one, that's kind of hard because you see that I have a lot of words. I would really say my proudest accomplishment is to be able to single-handedly rear 2 children and rear 2 good children, especially living in a country where I have no family support. It's just me and my kids, and to still be able to do what I do, for me is one of my proudest accomplishments because they are grounded, they are decent children, they are balanced as much as I can make them. And for me, it's not perfect, but that for me is a biggest achievement, especially based on how I was brought up. That is my biggest.
Wow. It's beautiful. And, just saying that, we know where your focus is, like your focus is family, is connection, is leaving a legacy, is your kids. And I think that's beautiful. That's gorgeous. Yeah. And
I talk about my kids and I get emotional. Yes.
And your kids are lucky to have you as a mom because you are a badass senorita. You're rocking it. Ava, you're amazing. So in terms of the women that might be listening right now, is there any other things that you feel like they need to hear or know to be able to recognize their worth or to know that they aren't where they came from, that they can be, do, and have anything?
A big thing I realize in all women, a lot of women, is that we think that we need somebody else to complete us. And that's not true. Relationships are necessary. They are beautiful when they work. But you cannot go into something expecting to become whole, it says that you're broken. And so you don't need a relationship to complete you. You need it to complement who you are. It took me a very long time to learn that lesson. But the moment I learned it, I started to self-love. I started to self-heal. And I started realizing that I was enough, right? Yeah. Because sometimes what happens is your past, especially if it's been tainted like my childhood, it can scar you. And in that scarring, rather than you digging out the pus and the fester, you put a band-aid on it and you keep it moving. And then you wonder, why are you still having these same results? So I'd say to those women is, you know what? Take some quiet time. Stop. Pause. Sit back and question. What truly makes me happy? Find that happy place. I'm speaking somewhere tomorrow, and I remember I was talking to somebody the other day about what does being wealthy looks like, because a lot of us have that so wrong. Money is a very dignified conversation, and I will have it any day. I was selling since I was a child. But I also know that true wealth is not money. It's not. True wealth is being able to touch lives in such a way that when people talk about you, they radiate that beauty and grace. And that when people see you, they feel like you have impacted their lives. True wealth is having a family and children who can say, you know what, my mom is the best, my dad, my brother is the best. True wealth is when you serve your clients from a heart-centered place. And so when you understand that wealth is more than money, although it's very necessary, it's a dignified conversation, then you'll find your happy place. Because it's not just about the money. It's about heart-centeredness, being able to give of yourself, add value. But you cannot do that if you're broken. You're going to have to heal yourself. And sometimes it takes my very famous open heart surgery and go inside and take out and replace. And I say to my clients all the time, it's like getting a bucket and taking out all of those stuff, use paper or rocks or whatever, take out all the bad stuff, and then you refill it with stuff. So you write on paper the things that you're putting back in. You're putting in joy and pleasure and happiness and self-love. I also say to my clients all the time is to do, I talk about, lamps, do physical, visual lamps where you are, create lamps. So where you're standing, bless the earth where you're standing, bless what you have, be grateful. Gratitude is big on my plate, because you cannot expect to have macro wins in your life when you cannot appreciate the micro wins.
Wow. That's huge. That's huge. It's like you can't expect to get the house, get the car, get the dream man or woman, get whatever business success if you can't celebrate this step of losing, half a pound, of saving $100, of, just taking a picture of a dream house, putting it on a vision board, and celebrating that step that you took action.
And Chris, you know what? I will end that by saying you cannot activate true abundance without humanity, philanthropy, and giving back. Wow. You cannot activate true abundance without passing it and paying it forward. So I'm big on philanthropy. Yeah. And probably because it helps to heal me.
Yeah.
It makes me feel healed.
Yes.
Right? So those are things that I would say to anybody who's really at that place where they're trying to find, I found some of my purpose by philanthropical work. That's how I got to help define what I truly want to do.
Wow.
By giving back. And every time, and there's a lot of nuggets here, every time you think that you are drowning, there's somebody who's going under, somebody who's worse than you. Be grateful. Look around you. And every day I find 5 things to be grateful for. Every day. No matter how hard it is.
Yeah, it's interesting, the duality of life, because it's almost like when people compare themselves in like material stuff, it brings not peace, brings distress, brings like not anxiety stuff in comparison, not feeling good, not enough. But if we're in that situation where we don't feel good, then we can compare ourselves to someone who's even worse off than us. It's like, wow, things aren't so bad. Like what a duality principle or like concept that can help us move forward. That in both situations, all we want to do is move forward, and I think that's what you're all about, Ava, is moving forward and helping these women that you're working with move forward, people who've, encountered challenges, people who you speak to. It's beautiful. So I know our audience wants to move forward with you and stay connected with you and find out what they can do next with you. So why don't we share how they would do that with you?
Well, one of the things I love, I'm sure you probably share from me, is the Mango Girl campaign, which is the book campaign, which I think you've got the link for that. That would be really nice if people could help me to make that dream come true. That ends in about 12 days from today. But I really would love the women to connect with Sister Hold My Hand on Facebook. It's a great movement. And, I really believe that all of us carry around something in our issues in our tissues. All of us have got some of them. I'm on Twitter at Ava Brown 24. My website is avaeaglebrown.com, as my name is. And I, private message me on Facebook. I really do check everything. I'm the one who is really active in my Facebook. My peer controls the rest of the stuff. But I really love to connect with women and follow me on the movement. Sister Hold My Hands on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, the Mango Girl. Stay connected. I'm like a good infection. You put in my name, you'll find it on Google. And I check myself every month what people are saying about me.
I love it. Ava, since people, they might not be able to connect to you directly because of it's a Zoom going through like my Facebook, why don't you post the Mango Girl link in the comments on Facebook, on the Facebook Live?
Thank you so much. You never take, as well, because we act in integrity, we don't do these things. We normally try to respect people's space. Totally. And so I'm going to post it here on Facebook. Sweet. But I really, really want to just say to everybody who's watching is that this kind of platform is amazing. And I really hope that you're valuing it, because what Chris is doing is super duper awesome.
Thank you. This is just the beginning, Ava. And looks like Erica is out there. We got Princess out there. Ava, way to go, putting that in there. Petia is loving this. Oh my gosh. We had a lot of fun in this interview. And Ava, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your light, your joy, your love, and for all that you got coming up, your book tour, speaking all over the world. You are a shining star. Shining star.
Thank you. I'm really so humbled that you've had me here. I never take these opportunities for granted, because you understand very well that given a platform is something that takes energy and time. And you're doing this 12-hour marathon. So guys, I want to just say namaste to having me. And if you're not following Chris, please follow him. He's super amazing. And I look forward to working with you at a larger scale and doing other things.
Yes, absolutely, Ava. Have the best day ever. Everyone who joined us, thank you so much. Definitely follow Ava, and we'll see you soon, Ava, okay?
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.